G'day ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Draw with Jazza. I'm Jazza and today I'm going to be doing a character design session with my friends on Twitch. Everything that is selected is voted on by the Twitch chat, so I'll be putting things to the vote and they will be picking the winners. So to begin with round one, I'm going to be putting forward a bunch of core fundamental character types or traits or something. Alright, and I've put it to the vote. Let's see how things get moving. We start off with a couple of votes in Monster, so that's kind of cool, and now it's with Fantasy Race in the lead, jumped up to the top. Okay, so Fantasy Race is the clear winner, so I'm going to now create a new poll to decide what Fantasy Race. So round two, it's a pick between I think 7 different options, and it's coming up very quickly, quite even, with Dragon jumping to the lead. So Dragon has come out on top just, which is awesome, and now I'm going to ask the Twitch chat to put forwards to me some Dragon characteristics. I obviously didn't spell this right. There you go, characteristics. All right, so we've got our poll. It's between 8 different options and they're very variant. Ooh, but by 1 point. Oh, it's even, no, it's in the lead again. Ah! No. Okay, so proportionately, our robot mech and our undead dragon are so close, and all these other votes spread out so much, I'm going to make another poll just with those two. It's still coming up pretty close. And oh man, I was going to say Robot Mech is taking it, but Undead Dragon has jumped right back up again. So it is very close. And here we are in the end. The Undead Dragon came out on top, which is exciting because I love skulls and everything undead. So we're going to have a lot of fun creating this design. So today we're going to be drawing an Undead Dragon, which I'm looking forward to. And in the character design videos, I go through my design process. So to begin with, what I do is I come up with a handful of different rough sketches, but I try to challenge myself and make interesting decisions by trying different things. Trying to not reuse the same elements too much, because naturally when we create character designs, we go for the first 1 or 2 things in our head and then decide between them. But it's often a really good idea to throw as much at your piece of paper as you possibly can and just see what sticks. Look up visual references on Google Images and things like that. And then in the end, you get a whole bunch of different results, and sometimes you may surprise yourself with what you end up liking, and it might not be the first 1 or 2 things you thought of. And then in the end, what I tend to do is take the things that I liked most about the pieces that I came up with in that character design concept sketch phase, and then do a refined sketch of the most interesting or favorited elements in a single sketch and put that together. And if I'm happy with it, then I have a finished character concept or design that I can move forward with and do my refined piece of. All right, so I've got a whole bunch of preliminary sketches down, and I'm starting to get an idea as to what I'm liking and what I'm not liking. So for example, I really like the profile of this one and the way I'm using elements of torn flesh on this dragon's skin. Some of them work well with eye cavities and some of them work well with the eyes in the cavities. So going between the fleshy or the bony look is sort of hard to decide between. Also, the structure and positioning of the horns is tricky as well, because sometimes these ram horns look really cool. Sometimes the horns that go back on the skull look much cooler. So what I'm going to do now is design 2 dragons. One is going to be primarily a bone-based undead dragon, and the other one is primarily going to be a fleshy, decomposing undead dragon. So I'm going to do the best that I can with those 2 illustrations, and then out of those 2, one of them will be picked by the Twitch chat for me to do in refinement and color in a bit of a final piece. Okay, so I have my 2 finished dragon design concepts here, and I'm going to get the chat to vote on them. I've just launched that. While they're voting, we have Dragon 1 and Dragon 2. Whoops, I just wrote 1 twice. So we have Dragon 1 and 2. Dragon 1 being fleshy and decomposing and rotting, much more sinewy. And Dragon 2 being bony. So it doesn't look like we're going to be going away from it being a tie anytime soon, so I'm going to mix the two. I've spoken a lot with the Twitch chat and I'm taking the things that they like from both dragons. It seems that people in general are liking the structure and the shape of the skull and the horns of the bone dragon, but the sinew and the detail and the rotting flesh look and having the sunken eye in the fleshy dragon. So I'm happy with that. I'm going to do my best to take the elements favorited by both of these and mesh them into one ultimate dragon design. So now that I'm doing my refined piece, I'm starting off very, very light because it's important to me to get the shape right. When I draw the head of a dragon, I often keep in mind the shape of a horse head, but I over accentuate things like the jaw and move the placement of the eyes, and of course add a whole bunch of different details like horns and stuff. Playing with the general shape of the bone positioning as I go, eventually I'm in a place where I'm happy with the position of everything in the proportions and I can start to add detail. In creating a piece like this, making the flesh look rotting is as simple sometimes as taking chunks out of areas of the skin and then just drawing in muscle and sinew, and then sometimes we can add things like drips and scars and scabs, and then we get a really cool textured undead look. Over time, slightly improvising as I go, eventually I end up with something I'm quite happy with that's ready for line work. When doing line work for art pieces, often the phrase less is more comes to mind, and it's important to keep that sort of thing in mind, whereas in the case of this dragon, more tends to be more. More lines, more textures, more chips and scabs, more cross-hatching and lines for shading. And in adding all of these different lines and areas of textural interest, we start to add a much more haggard look, and it makes the piece look much more detailed and intricate while keeping priority on the overall shapes and important silhouettes of the character's face. Once I'm happy with the line work of the piece, I use a kneadable eraser to get rid of the construction work. Next, I'm going to be working with Copic Markers to create the tones of the character, and in doing so, I'm first going to be practicing and using experimental tones on a separate piece of testing paper. I don't want to jump straight into doing the color work on the piece in case I make mistakes, which you cannot undo when using these markers. So make sure to practice and get the right color combinations before you use them. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen, that is how I created my finished Undead Dragon character design. Thank you very much everyone in the Twitch chat. Make sure to join future Twitch streams if you're interested in joining things like the Let's Draw and challenges and character design sessions like this. I hope you enjoyed the outcome. I'm quite happy with how it turned out. Otherwise, thanks for joining me, ladies and gentlemen, and until next time, I'll see you later.